Yeah, Manamatela. Am I saying that right?
Manamatela.
Yes, and we're live. And we're live. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our third live conversation. Looking at the landscape of fatherhood in South Africa. And I, as always, excited to be having yet another conversation. And today, I'm joined by Sibulelo. I'm probably saying that wrong. I hate it when people say my name incorrectly. Okay, cool. Glad. Okay, cool. So I mentioned you in the first conversation that we had because you were an instrumental part of the photo series that we created and my inspiration to actually materialize the campaign, because it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. But
Yeah.
Hello, we have a guest. I'm really I was really grateful that you did the campaign with me, and it was a beautiful photo series. For those who haven't had an opportunity to go onto Instagram and hashtag the Black Dad Matters, and you'll see beautiful black and white pictures of beautiful present dads who we love very much. So, Sibs, I think just to introduce you to the audience just briefly before we continue with the conversation, maybe share with the audience what does the campaign meant for you and why you were comfortable with being a part of it. We can't hear you. Sibs? Sorry, I think the audio is a bit bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. I think it was the headset. Yeah, but
can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's fine. I was saying that the most important thing for me was the weight of the conversation and realizing that it's something that needs to be had. And also because it was something that I had been thinking about in my personal life, about how important it has been, and how in general fatherhood is just it's murky waters. It's a hard conversation for everybody. It's a hard conversation for single moms. It's a hard conversation for people who have dads there, but they're just there. So I think it's important to speak about how we can do better and how it can be done right. And I do like taking pictures, so.
Yes, and that's why you're the perfect person to definitely collab with on that particular campaign. Victoria Lerato from Facebook just said that she can't hear us properly. Lerato, is it my audio? Is it Sibu's audio? Can someone give us a signal? We need a signal to we need to fix the problem. So while we wait for someone to give us a signal, I'm just gonna continue to say the rest of the previous projects on the campaign have really been focused on the dad, right? Being focused on celebrating the present dad and having conversations with present dads. I really enjoyed that from last week, but I thought it would be really awesome for us this week to have a conversation on with mothers who are raising children in the absence of father. Apparently, my audio, guys. Sorry. Someone says you, someone says it's me. I don't know what's wrong. But let us.
Bad connection anyway.
Yeah, but my connection is fine. I'm not sure what the problem is. But let's continue the conversation because Pindi and Alicia will also carry most of the conversation. So hopefully their audio is better than ours because we are doing a bad job. So to have a conversation with us regarding navigating motherhood in the absence of fathers in the house, we have my two lovely sisters, Pindile Masuku and Alicia. Huntley. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
I like busting it down.
Hi.
Good thing. Yeah.
So I actually shared the link, and everyone on my WhatsApp is saying it doesn't work.
Oh wow. Okay.
The link doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which link did you share? The YouTube or the Facebook one?
It says sorry on YouTube. It says sorry, the video is no longer available.
Just ask them to go on to Black Mom Chronicles. Hold on, I'm just gonna
I
type
said
something. I just ask them to go to Black Mom Chronicles either on Facebook or YouTube. It definitely is there. Yeah. Live stream. I'm going to, so probably it's a network issue on that side. It's going to be on my phone. Okay, someone else said they can hear us perfectly. So people need to start out.
That's on YouTube, so I think we're good.
Okay. All right, cool. So ladies, someone's side. There's one of us. There's a bit of a noise happening in the background.
Okay.
Sibu, can you mute your mic?
Pardon?
Can you mute your mic? I just want to test something.
Okay.
It's mute.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's her side.
Yeah. So there's some noise in the background that's happening. I think there's like dishes and stuff happening. So maybe when you're not talking, can you try and mute? And then when you say something, just unmute your mic. Cool. Perfect. Okay, so let's start. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This is wonderful. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. Maybe we can start with you, Alicia, since your name starts with an A.
Happens to me all the time.
So I'd like to find out as just a starting point, and the conversation can grow from there. Because today we're talking about absent fathers. So how has the image of the absent dad kind of manifested itself in your life? And maybe at first you could just introduce yourself and your beautiful baby, and then we can just take it from there.
Awesome. So yes, everybody might know that my name is Alicia Huntley. I do consider myself a single mom. My baby girl is Danica. I would have loved to share pictures with you, but I'll try to contain myself. And yeah, we've been together for 2 years now, 2 years strong. And the absent father. So I think in the beginning, I didn't really resonate too much with that statement as much as I do as time passes, or as we navigate this journey together, me and my daughter. So at first, I just really wasn't worried about it because I wasn't married. I always assumed there'd be a degree of something like absence. We didn't live in the same house, but now I think more than before. I've sort of now put that label up on the front door of the house, absent father. Because I think after 2 years of navigating, and I suppose we'll go through that journey as today goes, it's been clearer to me now that he's definitely absent. And yeah, I think that's how I would kind of encapsulate that idea.
Okay. And at which point do you think you reach that resolution within yourself to say, okay, cool, I'm a single mom. Let me move
on. So in terms of being a single mom, I really feel like it was right from the beginning because my upbringing I'm quite specific about how I interpret what family means, maybe too much, maybe to my own detriment. But for as long as I knew that we weren't parents together, whether co-parenting or not, I always thought, okay, I'm a single parent. There's another single parent somewhere else. We might co-parent, but we're still single. So my definition of single across the board is if we're not married, we're single. So right from the start, really.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
cool. And Pin, maybe you can share how the image of the Black father manifested itself in your parenting journey. Because yours is I would assume different from Alicia's.
I had
And
muted myself. Sorry.
Yes.
Am I back? Okay. I've always had a problem. Yes. I've always had the problem with like defining myself as a single mother or just hearing it in general. Like, why label it? It's always been that it takes a village to raise a child. I didn't want it to be that I label myself like now I'm the single parent, I'm alone in this world. And I felt like that's what I'd portray to my child as well. I mean, it's different from me. I'm not a single parent and I don't really have an absent father for my child, but I just feel like we need to change that and walk away from it. And I can understand why someone would feel that way, but I feel we'd be then projecting, to the child as well. And whereas there's so many people that can help. You've got your mother, you've got your father. If you do, you've got parents, you've got friends around you that can help you parents and mother. That it shouldn't be that I'm single. It shouldn't be that my child feels like he's just being raised by me. Was I supposed to also introduce myself, by the way?
yes.
I'm Pindi. I'm a mother of a 3-year-old, a son. Am I still here, guys?
Yes, no, we can hear you perfectly.
Perfect.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep continuing to talk if anyone is still hearing me. So the struggle with motherhood has always been like,
Oh, now she's gone. Oh, and she froze at such an awkward time as well. While we're waiting for her to connect, I think okay. Let's maybe continue. So I think what I always find interesting, and I think this would be very personally right, is that only after becoming a mother did I say I respect single moms, right? Because I have no idea how my journey would have played out as a mother to a daughter if my partner was absent. So I don't know if you experienced something similar.
For me, I definitely, but I've always had a respect for single moms because my mom was a single mom, and not by choice. Even. I mean, not as a single mom by choice. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think. But it's because my father had passed away, so she was raising me by herself. So growing up, I always like saw how hard it was for her at times, and also because she was quite open with about it a lot. But after becoming a mom, I was like, no, you did it, baby, because I'm dying.
Sorry, Sibu, is there TV or radio playing in the background? It's like,
No.
am I hearing this alone?
No,
Maybe
it's as if the mic is like, the feedback is so regular that it sounds like it's something in the background, but I think it's more feedback.
Okay, cool. Now if it's feedback, that's fine. This we can do. Okay, cool. Let me try to connect. I think she's not too sure. Oh, there she is.
And just like an interesting point I'd like to bring up with relation to what Sibu said is like, it made me think about perhaps related to how we define this absent father or single mom term, the two things concurrently. With her dad having passed, I feel like even I relate to her mom being a single mom very differently. I don't think she's a single mom. I think she's a, a respectable single mom. And I'm the single mom attached to that shame of like, he chose not to be there. So he's alive, he's not dead. It's his
if you
choice.
disconnect her, if only Wi-Fi go.
It's just interesting, like, because I'm thinking about what Pindi was trying to say with relation to just detaching from that, from identifying with that absent father syndrome. And maybe I don't think that Sibu would identify with it because he wasn't absent. If he had, to her understanding, if he had a choice, he'd be there. But the choice is outside of his control. So I just thought about that, quite an interesting feeling.
I like that. I like that because I kept asking repeatedly when I was posting about the show to ask what is a single mother? Because I think that's where we need to get to. Because even just the concept of an absent father is a multifaceted one as well, right? Because then when I was with Master Parent and I was hosting those shows and we were kind of breaking down the topics, we had a topic about absent fathers, but we were talking about absent present fathers because then you're not in a relationship with the man, but the man is there. The man is pulling, the man is contributing, the man is trying the best that they can. So I think just pulling up a person like that, just an absent dad, because absent dad just creates the thinking, which okay, he's so absent, like absent, absent and then there's present. And then there's the dad in the middle, and I think we're discovering that as we go. Because I've also seen online the conversations around dads that are really trying and getting bashed by women to say, "How can you use this? How are you doing this?" That's been very prevalent. And the women like that then call themselves, "I'm a single mom," but it's like, are you really? Because
and I don't even think those dads are absent. To me, even if you're partially present, you're there. You might just not be there 24/7, but you're there.
And that's the difference between the woman that is like literally raising a child single-handedly without the assistance of the man that helped them create this human life, and the woman where the man is still
trying.
Still trying. Like I love that. It's still trying because we have a lot of guys that are trying. Because the past conversations that I had, the first one with hotlines is because just highlighted the fact that guys think parenting is money. And when they don't have the money, then they feel like they can't parent sufficiently or they can't regard themselves as parents. Then the conversations get very complex to say it's really not about just the money, there's more to what a father is. So I think, yeah.
But what's tricky for me is because the money conversation, I think it's very relevant because sometimes, you can be present without financially contributing. But at the same time, it's an important part of parenting. You can't avoid that. And it makes things tricky when men are, generally speaking, are comfortable with saying, I don't have the money. And like, the mom doesn't either. What does she now do?
And I think for me, sorry, Sue. I think for me, it also like it invites me to say that possibly you guys have a whole other conversation around the fact that men seem to associate any worth that they offer around money, because I don't think that's just a parenting thing. A guy will not date you because he thinks he can't afford you. So he won't even bother, and he might be your one, but he's going to run away from him because when he looks at you, you just don't look affordable. And I think that's just like a whole other conversation around why maybe men feel the way they do in general.
What would be I think what would be interesting for that money conversation is firstly, I don't know if you're comfortable answering this, but is the father of your child contributing financially? If he was, would you still regard yourself as a single mother? Would he still be the absent dad?
Nah. Because for me, if he was saying I can't be there, but I'm gonna do something to show you that I'm there, then he'd be there. And I think being present is just showing up. I just believe showing up is enough. And yes, that might be me as a person. Other mothers might not agree. Other mothers in my situation might not agree. It wouldn't be the way that I prefer because I grew up a lot like my daughter's now growing up. I would want his presence more than his money. So the conversations him and I have had were first, I don't want you to just give me money. He tried to give me money in the beginning, and I was like, I appreciate it, but that's just not, that's not it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm not saying I don't appreciate it. I'm saying you can actually make it even simpler for yourself, because you're always sort of speaking to how difficult it is for you to contribute and that you don't feel like you're contributing enough. So then don't contribute at all. Buy airtime, buy data, call your child and see who you are. Let her know you. And that's enough for me.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, but I also just want to reference or highlight just the financial aspect of it, because I think it's so important in the South African context, particularly the Black context, right? Because what is particularly controversial when we're talking about parenting, particularly when we're talking about dads, is the concept of forced fatherhood. And what forced fatherhood says is the woman has the choice to say, when they're not ready to have a child, the woman has the choice to say, I want to terminate this pregnancy because I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But to what extent does the man have a choice in the journey, right? Because once the child is here, then it's like, oh, Baba, like now you have
Yeah.
to.
He's like, ah.
Like initially, we probably had the conversation as a couple to say, no, not if I'm ready to have the baby. I was like I'm really not ready. But then I went ahead with it anyway, and then it gets to a point where it creates the conflict. Because I remember posting a story the other day on the Citizen about a conversation, a screenshot conversation, WhatsApp conversation, where this lady was asking for money from the
Assistance.
the baby is coming and I don't have this and I don't have that. And the guy was like, I told you to go terminate. Now, why is this my problem? So just that like I think it's, the money just makes the journey a bit more complicated than it already is.
Yeah. I think also we need to have the conversation upon meeting. I think we're not at that stage anymore where we can say a pregnancy is a mistake. It's not. Like we can't go there. And in Akona, it's there's this thing of when you want to terminate, so you're pregnant now and an oopsie happened, let's say for instance, and you go to a clinic, they don't ask where's the father before we can do this, you know. It's your body. You decide. If you make a conscious decision to have a child as a woman, there's like certain consequences that come with it, whether he's going to be involved or not, especially if you don't have the conversation. Uba, ukhule kanjani? Do you have a father present? Do you have an uncle? How is this guy treating his mother? Because wow, wow, we see things, you know. And so if we just have to be so conscious as women and be so protecting of these creatures that we bring into the world, because now with all these killings and all this anger, men are angry, guys. Men are very angry, and
Go through
some of it, most of it you can say it's unjustified, but there's a certain degree of umuntu. Can someone be that angry in life? You know, can you really stab someone? I mean, they're probably saying sorry. They're probably like saying forgive me. You know, at that time, no one says yes, kill me. You know, so we need to look at these things. That how are we grooming these children, and what is the foundation? You know, and how can we help? How can we help soften the blow as mothers, you know, as a community, you know. That's why in my earlier thing I was saying, let's take away the singleness and the loneliness that comes with parenting, and bring back that thing of saying it takes a village. You know, I can call Lukarabo when I'm stuck, and we talk about this openly, and it's not embarrassing to say, yo, it's hard now, you know. We're talking Nokarabo the other day, but like sometimes it comes to a point where you don't have money for the most basic thing, yogurt. And how do you make a child understand that at this point there's no yogurt?
Yeah.
And whose door do you knock at, you know? Why must it be automatically that I think, oh, the father's child must provide this yogurt? No, friend, I don't have money for yogurt. Mom, aunt, sister, brother,
The
village.
village.
Habuna yogurt, guys. Help me,
That's what
you know?
guys.
It takes away from now so traumatized. Oh, I'm raising this child alone. You're not there. He's not there. Let him live, you know. and it softens the blow. I know it's very hard, and I'm probably talking soft because I'm not experiencing it, but I just want us to say, let's try it. Let's have open conversations about this, and let's see what kind of generation do we breed. Do you get what I'm saying? Away from playing victim and projecting victim unknowingly. Whereas if umntana uyazi ukuthi, like, I can just say, hey, go next door, you know,
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
this.
And
And
I think for me, what I'm grateful for is that because maybe I have the same experience as Danica, in terms of the definition of how I'm being raised versus how she was raised. I am very unapologetic, and I find it very difficult to be a victim or to be um, like I just don't find it easy to have an excuse for somebody to feel sorry for me, or and I think a lot of my conversations with Karabo previously are just what I recognize as normal. A lot of women are like, God, you're strong. And I'm just like, I don't know. I just think everyone has a choice. And it really boils down to what I wanted to say around forced fatherhood. If you, a lot of men don't understand when I say, you need to just talk clearly to me. If her father had said to me, God forbid, because I love it, but now. But if it said to me, I thought I want this, but I don't, we wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be in this room.
yeah,
And I would have been okay with that because he would have told me from the onset that our seed is not ours. If you continue this journey, you are all by yourself. And I would have been like, oh, okay, I didn't prepare or plan at the time of conception for this journey alone. So I'm not going to do this. So this was great. Thank you so much.
But I think
Done. And
Yeah.
to have 5 months decide we're not in a relationship anymore. You don't
Yeah.
really want to be here. You're just kind of trying to stick
that's so
around.
important.
I see you're not with me. And I don't think you think that this stomach is here like causing us to be together. Let me clarify. I'm okay. You can go. I have a big stomach and I must look after myself to term, and I'm okay with that. I've got people. I'm not alone. I'm not an island. I didn't come, I might have come out of my mother alone, but I never came into the world alone. There was a whole host of people. And maybe because I was raised by a village to a greater extent, even if my mom was single with a very absent father. I was raised with a village. I didn't have that thing of like, I'm alone, Zoti. Says Anja.
I think
I will
Sibs
make
wanted,
it work without him.
yeah. Sibs, what you wanted to say something? Love that.
yes, I wanted to say that a lot of the time for me, it feels like in the initial stages, it's almost as if men feel obliged to stay, because
Yeah,
I think it would be, I think it's a difficult conversation to say to someone, terminate that baby, because I don't want it. I'm sure that's a difficult conversation, but to a certain extent, we can rely on a village, but like
We lost you. She muted.
On audio, it's like it's in the distance.
She muted herself, and I can't unmute you. You're muted.
Mute.
can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
Oh, right. Okay. I would say, to what extent do we say that we are not absolving men of responsibility? Because I do agree that we have to rely on our village when they don't show up. But if, like it happened in your case, if they playing along in the beginning and they're like, yeah, I'm there. I think that it is a must that you follow through on that, because you didn't start off with the difficult conversation of saying that I don't want to be there. Now you have agreed, you have said that we are doing this thing. When do we draw the line and say we are now absolving you of responsibility?
I completely agree. And I think out
yes,
of everything, if I had like a complete opportunity to have closure on any conversation I've had with him, that's the only thing I'm upset about. Because there were many conversations where I said, I see you dipping in and out. Are you sure? Yeah, I need this. I need this. And then later I'm like, no. I see you. That's okay. Step away. You did not trap me with this situation, or you did not force me to be bound to you forever. We will always be connected, but I'm not bound to you. I'm not sired to you. And I think maybe if we branch into the next part of this, that is actually why, or the fundamental root of the reason why we are not co-parenting. If it doesn't come with me, he's not in it. But if it came with me, if I was pretending to be like half interested in him, interested in him, I think to some extent, so, and I just needed to clarify our
Yeah.
relationship, because I was like, for our child, no matter what our relationship is, she needs to be very clear about who we are to each other, what we're doing here, how do you fit in from across the world, and where do I belong?
Yeah.
And what does that mean for her? How do we build that house outside of the confines of the four walls that are around us? And I think that started really to start opening up the truth to him, that he might not have wanted the baby per se or the child per se, but he believed that maybe without marriage, that was the best way to make sure I never leave.
Mm, sure. That's tricky. To bring it back, I want to find out, maybe from the perspective of the woman, do we actually know who we are having kids with? I think then, because that conversation then brings the responsibility to us. But okay, let's stop talking about the guy. Like, he messed up, he doesn't want to do this. But are we kind of are we asking the right conversations throughout the relationship to find out? Because I think Pindi mentioned that, right? To say, do you know who this guy is? Do you know what kind of father-son relationship he had? Because what I'm noticing in the journey of my own journey and through doing the project is that fatherhood is such a cycle. Life is actually such a cycle, because then what I notice now with my own personal journey is my father was there, but was not as involved as his kids would have liked to. So we were having those conversations, and it was probably not it's a serious sit down, let's have a conversation. Who is your father? You know,
Yeah.
but it's just okay, so his dad is this guy, and he constantly made that commitment to himself to say, yo, nah, like, such a terrible thing. He's like, my father is always a point of reference of what not to do. But then he's got that point of reference, and he's made a conscious decision to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, I'm not doing that. And I think that's how it's translated now in his journey, to say he wants to be here. He wants to do everything that he can to commit himself to a promise that he made because of how he was raised. So do we know who we are getting ourselves involved with when we get into relationships, when we parent? I think
That
that
I
is
is
think we
the
overlook that quite a lot. We like literally, guys, earring is failing me, ne? Sorry to upload, but yo, I'm failing. But yeah, we overlook that quite a lot, because then also, like, for instance, if they don't have a father, then they don't have a point of reference. Where does that lead them, and what expectations do we then have? We'll see how are they going to do it even better with no points of reference. And so trying to teach each other, because also I'm a first time mom, he's a first time dad with no points of reference. I was raised by a dad, so I know the kind of magical thing I expect from him. And we impose that on, but like, was it perfect? Also, what my dad did, he was also trying to figure it out. So I think the amount of pressure we put on each other sometimes is what's very detrimental to a relationship. And worse now is because there's not just two people anymore. There's another third party that's looking at both of you guys and be like, huh, you know, what's
yeah.
this now? Um, and with parenting, I'm figuring it out, he's figuring it out, who's wrong, who's right. So it's that thing of giving each other space to mess up, but how much damage can you allow? How much of it are you going to allow? And that's what makes us fight at the end. Whereas in feeling like, if you're a single parent, you don't have such struggles. You make a decision, it's takeout tonight and it's pizza. No one is gonna come and say, hey, I want burgers, you know. So sometimes I feel like you're so lucky to be a single parent and messing up and fixing on your own. No one's judging you, you know,
Ah.
and
Maybe
and
we can
learning.
discuss that. Maybe we should discuss that just about like because we always look at being like single mom just like from a very bad light when we look at it from the outside because we're like, yo, you're going through all of this on your own. But it's like in hindsight, there's probably some ups to it, you know? Like
Man.
you're only
It
thinking
loads.
for like it's just you and him, it's just you and her. You don't have to think about another human being. Argue about
Yes,
parenting. 'Cause that's a big thing. Like sometimes our
yes,
parenting style is so different and sometimes they clash. But when it's just you, you're like, it's my child, my rules.
yes. Yeah. And I feel like, sorry, Sibu.
Do you know, also, I think,
Yes, Ibu?
um, it's okay. I think that it can be really great, single motherhood. And I will always say this, it can be the best decision that any woman can make. And I think sometimes it can be to an extent where you even cut off an
Praise
inconsistent
God. Yes,
father person, because of how they're affecting their child, who is the most important person in this whole
Yeah.
discussion. So I've seen very close to me with my brother, for instance, where I have spoken to my mom and we've spoken about he wouldn't be the lovely little boy that he is now had there been his father, because he was flaky, inconsistent, and had all these characteristics that are now not present.
yes,
So it can be like great. You're making
yeah,
the decisions alone, and if you are consciously trying to raise a specific way, you get to
Yeah.
do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why I wanted to come in today and just like maybe talk about that, because I feel like some people look at this as such a horrible thing to happen to you, whereas it gives you so much power and you have the dominance now to groom this thing, and you're looking at it, and one day it becomes this amazing person, and you didn't have this influence, or your do whatever they baggage that they come with, to influence now the journey eyomntwana. So I feel it's important that I feel like I could just be a spokesperson like of single mothers. If there's a present father and he's perfect, great. You're so lucky. But not any less different from if I don't have a father for my child, because then I've got the whole world in raising the child with me. So I just didn't want there to be a division of Luti, when you've got a father, I don't have a father. Let's be enough.
Absolutely.
Women, let's be enough.
Alicia,
So for myself, and I think Danica's father has no idea, because I'm not sure that he ever listened when I talked, because I'm too deep. But that understanding that through this experience, I actually got to know him is the first reason I forgave him before he even asked for forgiveness. He had always told me his story and where his dad was and how his dad worked, and how it all worked in his household. And exactly the thing that he tried to do in our situation is exactly what he went through. And it wasn't just that obvious. It wasn't like red, orange, green, blue. You couldn't call the colors at the time. But I spent a little bit of time with him, and I said, when you do this to me, and then you do that, and then you made this choice, and then you made this change to our relationship, and then you added this person, and you added that, and everything changed. And I said, remember the story you told me about your father? 1, 2, 3. Here's where I'm 1. Here's where we are 2. Here's where 3 fits in. And for him, I think it was like a aha. But I said to him, and that is why I had forgiven you before this conversation. I had had the opportunity on my own before you came to meet me for this to say, you know what, this shouldn't surprise me, and that's okay. Now, where maybe the fault is, or where the learning was new for me, was me saying, now that we know this, how can we fix it? And he was prepared
Yeah.
to stay in the zone. And that for me was there where I was like, okay, maybe you're not the person that I should have had a child with. You're a great parent. When you parent children, the way you look after children in general, the way you nurture in general, the way when you are present with your other child in general, you are a good person. but you're actually not that good a father. And that was when I was able to come to that realization through Danica. And I think I had always emulated a lot of my growth in general around her, because I just started to be a lot more conscious about certain decisions and certain things that I do and why, and how I decide about things, not knowing that over and above her, it was just me saying, as a parent, what is my thinking about certain
Yeah.
things? Really, for me, this experience has made me gain a lot of respect for my own mother, but has also
Yeah.
helped me just heal a few things about my father and understanding that he also navigated a certain journey, and however he interpreted it, when I came along, that was all he knew. He was only acting from a point of his own understanding,
Mm.
and he couldn't be blamed for his choice. And my mother couldn't be blamed for her response, which is why I wanted to come to this conversation, because I knew then that I can only act from through that looking glass. I can't see anything else. I can only see through the one that I'm looking through. But you might be standing right next to me looking through a very different telescope, and you might see the moon, stars in a very different way, and I can only see the sun. So coming to this conversation is like, I want to see the moon and the stars too.
I have a question just with reference to that. And tell me if you're not comfortable answering. But I want to know, do you think you would have fought harder for him to be part of the journey if you had experienced fatherhood differently? So if your dad was there and you had this image in your head about what a family unit looks like, and you had that and you benefited from that, do you think you would have wanted the same experience for your child? So you would have kept pushing.
I
Um,
still do, honestly, Kay. I really still do. I just, when did I become a single parent? Like I said, it's just now, and we are 2 years in. So it came from times of trying, arguing, fighting, having long discussions. I'm not really, when I say fighting, to me, fighting is just having this back and forth debate about something that I don't think should be a debate. When you've been in a relationship with somebody, I think common interests should still stay, even after the fact. So for me, fighting is where it's like we're not chasing the common goal. And I've really, maybe also to only the extent that I know, like you say, maybe had I had my dad and had I had that experience, I think that something would have changed twofold. I might have fought a different way, maybe for longer. Maybe I would have approached the situation differently. I would have invited him in, maybe from a different perspective, one. And two, I actually think that if that were the case, I might not have chosen him. Might have been more evident to me what kind of parent he was before the fact. Because I think your upbringing, to me, it does definitely influence what kind of people you find yourself associating with as you grow. Because your growth is also obviously personal, and there are things that will change. But initially, some of the reasons why you choose certain people in your life, friends, family, who you're closer to in your family, who you push further away, partners, it's related to your upbringing. So I think if I had a dad, I probably wouldn't have even chosen him, to be very honest.
but
Sure.
Indiwana, do you think it's more detrimental to stay and fight and try to force for this beautiful image of the family that's together than it is to just leave, to be like, it's fine. I'll just
Wait, it's really hard to say, because then some people fight and at the end ulung, so, and then some people are just fighting in vain. I think you need to be very conscious, and know where to draw the line. Uguti, like, is this fight still healthy,
yeah.
and is this fight still, who does it affect now, when it stops being healthy. It's not easy maungaphakathi to actually see that now I'm actually being affected, and I'm not happy. But the more you talk to people is when you realize that actually it's not okay. I can't be accepting of certain things just because I want this at the end. So it's very tricky, and I can't generalize it to say that don't fight, because sometimes you fight the good fights and at the end it works out. It's just to pick up when it stops being healthy, when the fight stops, benefiting, unless you guys get me, you know. But yeah, it's very hard. Now, when I look at it, and my perception of parenthood is, we talk about absent fathers, and that I had a perfect father, if I'm to say, he raised us, and I don't have that thing with Nick Raj, and I'm looking for love outside. It was enough. And it was so enough that it was a mother and a father. That's why I feel like if he could do it alone, I can do it, and everyone else can do it. And Konu Gogo, Konu Auntie, my sister, guys, like, I was talking to my mom now to say that I thought we grew up rich. I had everything. And she's like, no, but that's because I had a village. I had a village literally raising me, and that's why I feel so strongly about that, and that we have to preach it so that people don't feel so alone. Because even the depression after having umntwana, and then all of a sudden there's just no one, and because there's an expectation, Guti, I'm not changing the diapers alone. I have to have a certain creature that we made and formed this baby with. No. Solo out if you can, or go stay with the aunt if you can, so that it just cushions the blow and you don't feel it so much, and Nomtanako doesn't feel it as much. I'm all for protecting these creatures that we bring into the world, guys.
Yes.
It's so
And you
wonderful that God.
yes. Sibu wanted to say something.
I wanted to ask because right outside, oh my god,
Sorry.
my lighting is up. Talking about protecting the creatures, how do you approach the absence or the present absence to the child? Is it something that you speak about very openly? Is it a discussion you're going to have when they're older? Like, how does that look?
I think
Anyway,
I wrote that because it was one of the questions when we were prepping, and how do you prepare the child of where's daddy? You know, No, I don't know how to answer that, guys, because from the start, I'm all for shielding Umtwana to say, like, my point was that don't make it seem like you're alone, and don't make it seem like there's something that's not missing. But how do you do that then without the dad? And I was like, all for involving family, gube no malume, gube a brother, and like there has to be some form of father figure, even if there's not that figure, right? And then also, with my own daddy, when he's seeing someone else interact with the daddy, but like always make that daddy a superhero. I was telling my mom's like, don't lie to the child. I'm like, no, that is out saving lives. He's the Superman, and he's great. He's coming, he's this and that. So then he always has expectation. Which it made him dollar, and he's looking for his father. He doesn't have these things which you abandon me. You're a bad person. No, you're a superhero. And you are preoccupied with saving the world. But I mean, that's what Superman does. But at the end they come back and they love me. And I don't know if it'll work because my child is still 3, guys, and there's so many other children out there. But I just want us to try it. I just want us to see. But like, if ever a child doesn't feel like there's something missing in his life, and that if there's actually things that he can't talk to you about as a boy child, that maybe there's an uncle that he can go to, what that does for him in future. Is he then dependent on that one person that's not there, or can he then go into the community and seek something? Outside of what was said to be a mother and a father.
And for me, that's actually the reason why I pushed so hard so long. Because I was clear to Danika's dad that I just didn't want to tell her a lie. So I wanted her to know that, oh, like I know that's Karabo. She should know that, oh, that's my father. Whether I speak to him after 1 week, 1 month, 1 year,
Yeah.
she should point him out and she should know who he is.
Yeah.
And that's why that was always where I pushed the conversation from. It was more like an influence to say, we don't have to do it together, but let's let her know where she comes from, what's her heritage, who is she, and what does that mean? And going at that long enough that I could see that that was my wish for her. But what does she want? Or what is my wish outside of what I wanted? So how am I not going to live vicariously through my child? And that was when I made that to say, now it's unhealthy. Just to speak to the previous point, I was pushing and pushing, and then I realized that I'm not pushing for Danica. I'm pushing because
Yeah.
I see it work, then it will fix something in me that my dad didn't do.
Yeah.
And then I stopped and I started thinking about it for Danica. Does it help her? And I said to Karabo that it is just so kismet that she called me to this time to be able to chat with you guys, because literally on Friday, so Danica is extremely intelligent, extremely. Sometimes I think she's playing the fool, acting like a baby, and she's actually like 15 on the inside, because she relates to things that are just outside of my scope for a 2-year-old. So we're getting ready for school, and she's playing around. I'm the mommy, you the mommy. I'm the baby, you the baby. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. I'm the mommy, you the baby. I'm the mommy. And she kept going at it. And then she said, but now where's the mommy? And I'm like, how? But I'm the mommy. Okay. And where's the daddy? And I was like, maybe in my mind, the story I've been preparing was for like 5, 6, high school, primary school, I don't know. But it didn't dawn on me that I might need to start having some conversation about daddy at 2 years old. My daughter's been watching all the shows you can think of. If I name them now, all the mothers will go crazy. But every single one has a mommy and a daddy, and a brother and a sister, and a mommy and a daddy. And thank God she's not asking me for a brother or a sister. But it makes me why she's asking me for a daddy, because the songs are singing about mummies and daddies, and she can put an image in her mind when she's watching, and she can relate to the mummy part. But how does she conceptualize the daddy? I live in a house where I've got some of my family with me, and I try to incorporate the village thing. Being a little bit more headstrong and relatively independent, I still want to do my things my way. So it's like, yeah, you guys can help, but it's still my way. But I try to allow them in as much as possible, knowing that they give her a lot of what I can't. And although I have a brother, I've never really thought of relaying him as somebody who can be a father figure. I hadn't thought about how do I bring in a father figure. I thought it has to be my partner so that it does look like the house with the picket fence that I never had, that I imagine must be what it's supposed to be. So she won't think that way. And I could understand why she's then asking me. And it's now prompted me to say, what am I going to say? How am I going to, what should I do? And being a very deep spiritual person, I thought this thing came at the very right time. This discussion was placed specifically for me, and I need to be in it, and then watch it later and say, okay, so now what's the story I want to tell? And really, because I never want to say to her, he's dead. But that is my easiest story, because I don't want to lie to her. And I told him that if you don't come and I eventually have to say that you're dead, please don't come. I'll be the bad parent. And now I'm realizing that that's not a good enough story.
No, that's a horrible story.
I want her to know the truth in a way that she does not need to judge anyone for the choices they've made, mine or his, however she feels, because she's her own person. But hopefully can understand when he does come, and allow herself to forgive whatever idea she might have had about where he would have been before he does come, if ever he does.
Nina, I don't know. Maybe I don't. Let's not forgive. Like, I don't want a child to have to forgive or to recover. You know, it's so hard, and I feel you. And the death thing is the worst, because that's the worst thing that can happen in my household. If you play like this, you're gonna die. I'm a bad mom, but like, you know, the death thing is not, but like, we need to get stories. And I think maybe if we discuss it more and put it out there for people to actually comment on, what story or what do you tell your child, like, where is daddy that does not want to be involved? You know, when daddy does not want to be involved, because guys, there's a certain thing now. My mother actually works in courts, and daddies now actually want to be involved. and the law
Absolutely.
is protecting them now. But not many fathers know that the law is actually on their side now. Legit, the law is actually on the side. They can have their children, you know, and they don't know that. But now, for that portion of fathers that actually do not want to be involved, but later on now jump on the wagon, you know. But what do you say now to a baby who's asking, "Where's my father?"
And needs a pretty picture.
Question and comment. So, in terms of what do you say in the meantime? I think it's tricky, and I can't say because it's not something I have to think about. Hopefully, never have to. But for my brother, for instance, his dad is alive but not present. And I
Mm,
think what I found is that as much as so my mom just straight up told the truth as the truth can be. Like even though he was young, I think that was the best option for her to just say exactly what happened. She's had to explain it like 5 times, 20 times, I don't know, but it's a discussion that comes up all the time because, like you said, TV is full of babies. Um, every place is just full of daddies. But for a long time, he was constantly waiting for this person to show up
sure.
and constantly asking, like, when is he coming? Why doesn't he want to see me? And all these really heartbreaking questions. And I think he's now, because of having to talk to him about it all the time, said that, he's not a bad person, but like, he doesn't want to be here. I don't know why, but he just simply is not, that's not the best move for him. Now, my question has always been to my brother, because he's 13 now, and I've spoken to him about this, and I've spoken to my mom to say, let's say, because fathers sometimes just want to pop up when the child is 16, um,
Yeah.
say that that happens. Okay, I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, why now? But what do
Mm.
you as a woman in that position, what do you think you guys would do if that were to happen? Is that something you're open to? Or, you know, because from the outside looking in, I would say that when my gate is closed. You're out if you can. Decide from the beginning and that's it. But, posing the question to you guys, are you open to, I'm 18 now,
Yeah.
I'm back, you know?
So for me, one, it's so early, and you can still change the the bigger picture. Obviously, if you start breaking it down, she'll remember that. But at one, where were you? At two, at three. But if you can do it while the entire picture can still transform, all for it. I'm all for relationships. I'm very big on relationship building because I learned the hard way that through lack of relationships have been a learning journey for me. So I'm all about where I can support somebody having relationships that will build them, obviously, and not break them. But if it's 16, 17, no.
But do you think
Unfortunately for me, the thing is, at 16, 17, 18, it's not always going to be directly through me. She'll be on social media, he'll be able to find her without me, and that's what I don't like. While it's in my influence, I would stop it.
yeah. I was actually about to ask that to say at 16, 17, 18, is it still your choice to make or is it hers?
No, it's not. I mean, and like I also want to add on the fact, Guti, I strongly believe in foundations. I'm always going to go with that. That if you build such a strong foundation for Mtwana and you are enough for that child and they've got a right support system, I don't think it matters at what age that person comes, and especially if you haven't been bad mouthing them, then they are in a position to make a good decision that will be fitting for them, considering how they were raised and stuff like that. Because then the into when we show with Alicia to say forgiving, now this person
Mm.
comes and you've built this foundation, but then there was this thing at the back of the head, but like this, there was this and that, and now they have to suddenly meet, and the first thing that we have to do is forgive each other. I'm not for that. I want us to meet and be like, oh, where have you been? How's life been? This is how I grew up. What are you doing now? And how can we incorporate our lives together? Now that you're here, you know. I want it to be a catch up, not a lack of, I've been lacking you. And if you are around, then this would have happened and that would have happened. No, things must still continue, you know. I'm here because you two met once upon a time and decided to mate, and then you had your own things to do, mom had her own things to do, but she was strong enough and raised me, praise God. You're here now. Let's go grab a drink, and let's catch up. Like, I don't want there to be anything to forgive, because
Yeah.
relationship building is so important going further. Like, now all of a sudden there must be always forgiveness, and it's the circle of life in J,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't you think either way, don't you think that a child who hasn't had the other parent there will be wondering why weren't you there? And isn't that a form of healing and forgiveness that needs to happen anyway, whether you're bad mouthing or not? Because there is this gap to say that, okay, Shaf, there's nothing wrong with you, and mom said great things about you, but at the same time, you actually weren't here. So I have this idea of you that I've been told, but I haven't had to. I didn't get to experience it for myself.
And now's
So
the time we do it. So now we're doing it. Now we're experiencing each other and we're getting to know each other. I don't have to forgive you for anything. You were living your life. I was living my life, and mine was enough. If yours wasn't, let's share notes now. Why, and what are we gonna do now? Like, what are we gonna do now? No, I don't want to forgive anyone, guys.
I think
We currently living now in a world where we are recovering from our childhoods. I don't like that, and I
I
don't
think
want
that
to do that to my child.
your idea, Pindi, is feasible if your child is in their 20s or an adult. I didn't realize how broken I was without my father until my father arrived, because his arrival prompted those questions. So for me, Sibs is very right. There is forgiveness that has to happen, because even on that arrival, even if you're not explaining yourself, when I say, "Oh, how's it?" my mind is like, "But now," and it didn't happen immediately. Oh, when they told me, I was like, "Wow, cool." And then as the days passed and the weeks passed, and I carried on interacting with people I was interacting with every day, my friends, my family, people around me who had dads. And I was like, hold up. Um, Something doesn't add up here.
But
So
what were you told about him? What were you told?
I had no idea. I had
Did
no
they not
idea
say anything at
that
all?
I had no idea.
Sorry, I just want to go through the comments. We are drowning in our own conversation here, and we are forgetting our beautiful. Thank you so much for all the beautiful comments. Ufigi said this is a very difficult conversation, but I also think a very essential one. Because imagine if we could have more conversations about, this is what I tell my kid. Oh, it actually works, and this, like, just hearing.
Well,
Because imagine how many people are actually going through that. So I'm glad we have this platform. Unkateko earlier said most of the times we do know who we are having kids with. The issue might be choosing to see them as who we want them to be. I think
oh,
actually
Which
mentioned
is an
that.
ordinary relationship glitch.
Yeah. Mali said
yeah.
powerhouse.
See them as you want them to be, not as they are.
Pindi, your sister's crying. Don't make your sister cry. I think this is when you. Olungile said something very interesting. I chuckled a little bit when I saw it about sometimes not
Me
having.
too. That's my friend.
I wish my father was absent because
I can
Wow.
dream on
experience that. I'm so sorry you had to experience it because fatherhood is such a beautiful gift.
Absolutely.
Doesn't benefit you. And then Lithakona Lopukela said, hello. Dumela.
Hello. Hello,
We had,
Tate.
we had the chocolate,
Thank you.
and he didn't like the way I said his name. He said I said it too rough.
Lithakona.
He did not like it. Apologies. Alicia, I have a question for you, and I think we almost wrapped up. So you said you've been thinking about it for a while, but you prompted me. You said just now that you only realized the effect of having an African father when
I'm still busy.
I'm struggling to hear you a little bit because our other guest who just arrived is messing
oh
with
the
me.
guest,
I think
can you mute?
Sorry.
That's
Guys,
okay. That's okay.
I'm gonna close him in the bathroom now.
Shame. So Alicia, my question to you is are you scared for Danica?
Yes, yes. Another story for another time. But my parenting journey has really been falling in love with my child from start to now. I can safely say that I love her more now than before. And I think for mothers, they'll understand that differently according to the different psychologies around what happens when you give birth and what doesn't happen, etc., etc. Oh, okay, well done, passing the glass.
We are
Um,
thirsty. Hold on.
it's just because I didn't know, and I think because I was so stressed about the mother-father thing, I didn't really allow myself to be a mom at first. And only as I started to make peace and as I started to forgive and I started to let go, did I start becoming a mom. And I'm falling in love with her right now in a way that I'm fully next, Mumtana. So more than being afraid, I'm extremely protective. I cannot you like uyangibona nje ngeke umsondele.
Yeah, love that.
Mntanami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm more than afraid. I don't want her heart to break. I don't want my child's heart to break. And I want to protect it as best I can. And you know, watching and seeing how she interacts with some of my male friends and some of the guys maybe who hope that by being really nice to her, I might take them seriously. Watching some of the relationships I've seen her build with men that are not her dad, but I think she's tapping into that dad thing where they just love her and she just loves them and it just works so well. And I think, oh my goodness, what about when she says, but then like where's mine? Or if I never choose someone, for instance, where's my dad? Where's the guy who can do this to me every single day, who can play with me, lift me, throw me? And that is one area where honestly I'm so grateful for my brother. I'm so, so grateful that there's at least a man to show her that someone
Yeah.
mustn't treat you anything less than this. Anything less than
Yeah.
this is allowed. And my sister as well. My sister has a very different idea about nurturing, and I think she is just such a good influence on my daughter. And I think in that way, she'll be protected to an extent that she will get hurt. Oh, for sure, she'll get hurt. It will not be nice, no matter what story I tell, no matter how much truth I put into it as she grows. Because I think, listening to you guys, for me, I'm deciding that maybe the truth, because our truth is not that bad. He didn't just run away, or he wasn't just a bad person. We just had different, maybe we were just looking for different things at a different time. And I think she will get hurt that he didn't choose her over everything else, because that's what a woman wants. Whether you had a dad or you
Yeah.
didn't have one, there is a male in your life who will teach you that me above everything else.
Yeah.
And I think she will ask that question about why didn't he say me above everything else? And even if that were the case, look at all these beautiful people I had holding my heart, holding my hand, bringing me to this.
I love that. Ufiki said my dad once showed up when I was in high school and I didn't even know how to greet him. Then he was MIA again. And that's where it gets tricky. Because then you open the door for this guy and he comes in and then he just in and out as he pleases. And that tends to be more detrimental than actually staying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also want to add to Alicia, like what she was saying and how she's so in love with her daughter now. I really wish for mothers to feel like that from day one. Like, I just
Yeah.
want you to bring
Me
this person
too.
to the world, and immediately the protectiveness, immediately the love, immediately the enoughness, and everything comes in, And if one there's a lack somewhere, you immediately divert it to a brother, immediately divert it to a sister. I just want this child from day one to feel so much love and so little shortage of anything that they don't have to need or want later on, Gabon. And I feel so happy for you that you discovered it at such an early age in her life as well, because then some people go through the fight. Like she shows you, when do sometimes you don't know when to stop, and you just keep fighting and fighting and fighting. Next thing, the child is 13, smokes in your whoop, and you're like, but I love you, you're my child. And all of a sudden you want to correct the things. It's like, how? But where were you all this time? Preoccupied with those on club, basically. And
Absolutely.
you didn't take that moment to say, actually,
Yeah.
wait, you know.
And honestly, that's
Uh,
an everyday journey for me because I have a lot of different scars from my experience. And as each one, like, as I move out of certain stages, it's literally like this journey with Danica is sealing those wounds for good. I might have
yes,
put plaster here and there, and then somebody
yeah,
comes, and, like any unnurtured or uncared for wound, when they rip that bandage off, you're like,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
learning more than izinto zomhlaba. I'm learning what my real weaknesses have been, or my shortcomings that I couldn't even
yeah,
see
yeah,
through my experience with Danica, where I give up
okay,
certain things and I'm like, that's actually not that important. And then
yes,
why? How come? And I
yeah,
start doing that and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
got you. See that problem there. Something
Yeah.
I
It's
grew
yeah,
up with
beautiful.
over it now, you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's beautiful how we heal through our parenting journeys. It's amazing. I
yeah,
think there's a lot of people who are resonating with Lungile, saying it's so deep in so many ways to say. Sometimes it's actually so much better not to have them around. Uh,
not, yeah,
yeah, Diana also said the same thing. And then Jeanette Hogan said, "Wow, ladies, I'm really enjoying this so much,
That's my
loving the
aunt.
Thank you,
That's
Auntie.
my
we
aunt.
didn't feel up, we didn't
That's my
get the
beauty
memo.
problem.
Hi, okay, girl.
That's the part of the village that taught me how to drink.
What do you think moms do on Friday
Those
nights?
are out here.
Me, I'm coughing, guys. Coughing.
We don't cough in 2020. Stop it.
Continue, but
And
yeah.
then
Healthy life choices.
sometimes we worry about kids not having their dads around because of what we know. Meanwhile, what the kids see become their
The
reality.
reality.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely
Imagine
awesome.
raising
I think that's
bogotos.
what
Even
he's
men
trying to
become
say.
bogotos.
Changing the
hey,
reality.
Imagine my son is in Bogoto, your daughter's in Bogoto. Oh my God, Bogotos. We don't need men, guys. Come on. We
Chill,
don't need
niggas.
them.
wow, wow.
They,
Okay.
We don't need men.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
but we also love them.
And
We
we
love
love our wives
we
here.
love
So
them.
put the husbands. We
them.
love men.
We do.
We
I'm
love
married.
them, Shem.
Daddy will
They
be
take
back
out
like
the trash. They take out the trash so nicely.
absolutely. We pick up our handbags,
You
pick up
know.
the cake.
No, when they're and they're active, they do such a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Just closing remark from my side, and I think you guys will just have an opportunity to go at it. Is that as, at firstly, if you decide to fight, you need to be conscious about what you're fighting for, um, and
Yeah.
then you then have to kind of learn to focus your energy on the stuff that you can control.
Yeah.
um, that's when then you are a lot happier about your motherhood journey, and you can connect better with your child when you decided to choose your battle, because you
Yeah.
can't fight all of that. Because if you focus your energy on something else, then the other thing kind of lands. And I think
Yeah.
something that really came out a lot of times, and I think it's so beautiful, is that it really does take a village to raise a child, and particularly
Does.
us as people, as Abundant, we grew up
Yes.
in families. We know how it is to have those father figures. They play such an important role in our lives. I also resonate with that a lot because my father was in and out. I've got an article up on my blog for anyone who wants to read, saying my father was a Rolling Stone. He would have killed me if I was still alive. I can get away with it, not dead. But the in and out thing was also as detrimental, and I felt the gap, but I also was happy and fortunate because I grew up in a blended family where there were older men around, some who didn't have their own kids, so they would play a role here and there. So the village is very important. So if you
Very
feel like
important.
losing the battle of trying to make this guy an active part of your parenting journey, then just focus on building the village and ask for help as well. Pindi, I think that's so important to create relationships with people where you can ask for help to say, I am struggling, because it is a struggle. It is a struggle. It's a struggle with two people in it. So I
Yes.
can't imagine a struggle with just one. So
Yeah.
asking for help is key. And I think those are my notes just from my side. What are your guys' closing remarks? Sibs?
For me, I will always say that, as someone who is a mom, in most situations, you will know what is best for your
Yeah.
child. And your instinct. I know that, motherhood instinct doesn't kick in for anyone, but there is something inside you as a human being. You don't even have to be a mother, but like, when it's time to make a decision, which is the best thing to do, and you need to trust yourself with that. You need to trust yourself as a parent to know that I may not be doing it with or the way that I had envisioned at a certain point, but as I am now, this is the best thing to do. And you just need to have confidence in yourself, guys, because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's really not easy, and you got to trust in yourself. You got to believe in yourself, because otherwise, I think that you become paralyzed with fear, and there's so much that can go wrong. Um, but you got this, guys. We have this.
Absolutely.
Who's next? Me?
Yeah, Pindi. I see you mouthing the words Pindi, but we can't hear you. Perhaps.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear that. Yeah, for me, I'm so happy to have had this opportunity today, and I wish it was on TV right now. Like every channel, everyone that's watching something, we could appear on their screens and actually empower someone to say, you know what, you're enough, you know. And if you don't feel enough, we here. There's so many people that you can actually rely on, and you don't even know. You know, you're not alone. You don't ever have to feel like that. And yeah, like let's just put these children first. If you make a conscious decision to bring someone into the world, you're solely, like literally responsible for them. And if you're a believer, God wouldn't just allow you or to birth this and not be there to actually help you father if you really so desperately need someone to father your child for you. So yeah, it's just knowing that you're not alone, you're enough. There's so many people that can actually help you on this journey, and that it's not going to always be easy, but you need to trust that, you know what, you've got this, and whatever is best, you'll always know. You'll never do anything to harm your child. And yeah, the battle continues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Woo! I thought there'd be tears during the session. I feel the tears coming upon me. I just want to thank you guys for this chat. I'm always invited to really become more and more self aware in anything that I do. And I'm so grateful to God that He knew, and I've always known I am enough. I just realized it more and more through my experiences. Yes, I was apprehensive and I was like, maybe I won't, maybe I can't. I grew up being judged as this person, as that person. This is what people in my life said, so I won't be a good parent. And I know that Danica chose me, and she chose me for a very good reason. No one knows better what is good for Danica than I do. No one
Yeah.
better knows how to make her great than I do. Imbogot.
Yeah.
Not because of anyone or anything else. And my child has never wanted for a thing because everything that I am now, and maybe I've misunderstood and oh here I am. Maybe I've misunderstood just how much I actually loved her from day one. I just didn't do
They
it the way
want.
I think people thought I'm supposed to. Because from the moment she came up until now, every choice I've made has been only related to Danica. There are things I can do selfishly for myself or however, but however I do it, it's related to Danica. Anything that I'm not doing that I would want to do for myself is because Danica doesn't need that right now. And I'm grateful that I was given her because I'm the growth that I've made in 2 years far outmatches the one that I've made in the 31 years prior to her arrival. So this, yeah, again, this conversation for me came right on time. There's a lot of for me to think about. There's a lot for me to take in, and I look forward to like the rest of the journey. And I'm definitely going to share it with you guys because it's about to be great. I'm not going to reveal everything right now. I'm just going to,
We love it. We love it. Thank you so
I
much.
think one important thing, sorry, Gabar, but what we don't mention is don't forget to take care of yourself. Guys, I was such a slumpadinka. After birth, I was just like, ah, yes, I don't even give a damn anymore. I don't care a damn. You have to look after yourself because if you feel good, you look good and wada. So yeah, take care of yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, projecting
absolutely.
everything. We are energies, so
Yes, that's all we are, man. Energy, energy.
Absolutely.
I just
Absolutely.
want to make a quick note. My spirit is saying I must say this because you guys mentioned so many times about that, like a woman in Bogota. Don't let social media tell you that you're not, because there's this whole narrative that, oh, I don't want to be in Bogota, and we're not saying you're in Bogota because you can take anything, but then being in Bogota speaks to the strength that we have, the innate strength that we have as a woman. Hey, we carry life,
yo,
carry life, we birth life, we nurture
Whole
life.
life.
And that alone speaks to how strong we are. So be in Bogota, man. And don't let social media tell you that you're not in Bogota. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
bleeding,
it.
bleeding monthly and still surviving. Hi, bo.
You imagine. We're in Bogota. We're strong, man.
I
Ladies,
really
thank you
like
so much
this
for
one
joining in the
comment.
conversation. I appreciate
Okay.
y'all. I appreciate y'all for trusting me with your stories. I appreciate y'all for trusting us with your honesty and your truth.
Absolutely.
And I know for sure that there's someone out there that is listening and that is reminded. Because we know we're enough. Sometimes we need to remind us that we really are enough. So this has been a beautiful conversation. And this has been an educational conversation for me as well. Next week, I'm joined by Dr. Beta. He's a child psychologist, and we'll just be delving into the effects of not having your father present. Because there's a lot that happens here, there's a lot that happens here,
Mentally.
and that, that played a part in creating you is not present. So hopefully everyone can join us on that um, conversation. And then I'm done, guys. I'm not talking about dads for a while. I'm done. After this week, I'm done. We're taking a break, and then we'll have
Cool.
again. Yeah, but hopefully we can really continue the conversation. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about how important they are, but also let's talk about the women that are doing it without them and how they are.
Mm.
Because I feel like I was talking about the stats. Yeah, the 50% of households have no fathers, but we're not talking about 50% of the households just have a mom. What is that mom doing? So
Yeah.
this life that, and I'm really grateful. Thank you, Sibs. I love you. Thank you, Pindi. I love you, and thank you, Alicia. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Go buy wine, Pindi.
I have in
Yes,
the fridge. I
yes,
have.
please, please. And someone is drinking water, trying to make us feel bad. Whatever.
No, I'm setting the scenario for later.
What ifs? I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone that joined us. Figgy said thank you, ladies, for sharing your hearts. You are enough. Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much to everyone. Mwah. Love y'all. Good night.
Bye. Dugu.
Shit. Oh, Jesus, I was not expecting that. Good night, y'all.